Hey guys, what's going on? It's Nick. I'm here with another video. Today we're going to be doing a VATSIM tutorial and a overall flight tutorial. So, a lot of people know how to, spawn in at a Class Bravo airport and call up clearance delivery and get their IFR clearance to another big Class Bravo international airport and, call ground for taxi and all that basics. It's actually the harder thing to do, but it's the more commonly known because everyone likes to flight sim in their airliners. Today, I'm teaching you how to fly on VATSIM online and do it VFR. Because although it's much simpler, it's much less known, and therefore it's a little bit more sometimes scary, and not a lot of people actually want to do it. So whatever your reasoning is for wanting to get into VFR, this is a tutorial. I'm going to be doing it in the Cessna 172 on X-Plane 11. So this will work with pretty much any Cessna 172 that looks like this. This is, if I had to guess, it's probably mid-1980s Cessna, maybe a little bit later on, given the avionics and what's in it. I'm not an expert with that, just basing off what I've flown in real life compared to the avionics of this. Yeah, so with that in mind, we are connected to the network. Right now we're at Nashua, otherwise known as Bohr Airfield, I believe. Its identifier is Alpha Sierra Hotel, if any of you want to fly at this airport. There's currently a tower online and Boston Center. So, first things you want to do when you're flying VFR. We're currently at a Class Delta airport. You need to know what kind of airspace you're going to be in. So I'm going to be teaching you how to do this at a Class Delta. And to start, what we're going to do is we're going to pull up SkyVector. Okay, now SkyVector is a essential tool for flight planning when it comes to VATSIM because you can look at your overall route. You can also, it's a sectional chart online basically, so you can just look at the different kinds of areas. So we're going to look at this really quickly. So if you notice this right here, this is Nashua. And this blue dotted line around about 4 nautical miles outside of the airport, this indicates it's a Class Delta airspace, right? So we got Class Delta here. And we are currently on the ground. You can get a whole bunch of information from reading this, but basically we're going to use XPilot to tell us the frequencies. And today we're going to start with some traffic pattern work and then followed by maybe a VFR flight, short VFR flight. We'll head down here to Minuteman Airfield, which is, this will actually tell you, if you put this in to see your flight, it will tell you it is a 19 nautical mile trip. Very, very quick, but a fun one. And you don't have to deal with any of the Boston Class Bravo. So, with that in mind, we're going to put this back over here. We're going to go ahead and get this plane started. So, unlike an IFR, A320 departure out of Boston, what you're going to do is you can start your engine right from the ramp. I'm currently sitting by the hangars over here in a non-movement area. And I'm essentially just going to go ahead and get this plane started. So, I'm actually going to move the plane first because I'm not sure if this scenery is up to date, but I just want to make sure that I'm in a non-movement. So we're going to go spawn at the GA-10, which should only take 2 seconds, really. We're just moving a couple of feet on the airport. There you go. All right, so now we are spawned in. Oh, and there's lots of traffic here. Okay, there's lots of people. Lots of people online today. Nashua is not an airport that would really get this many people, but we're gonna go for it anyway. So first things first, hide the yoke because we need to. Second things second, I have a Cessna 172 checklist that I go through. It's for it's not for this specific model of the airplane, but it gets all the correct things done. We're gonna assume pre-flight's already been complete because I disabled any kind of problems, and we're gonna go with engine start. So first things first. We're going to do the before starting engine checklist. Pre-flight, complete, seats and seatbelts. We don't got to worry about fuel shutoff valve, which is down here. This right here. This is a fuel shutoff. In the middle, it's on both, left and right, obviously. So it's on both. Avionics switch. Both of them are in the down position, which means off. Electrical equipment is all off. All of our lights are off, and there's nothing on here. Let's see. Circuit breakers are all in. Brakes are set. All right, starting engine, mixture. First things first, this red knob needs to go all the way in. That's your mixture. Carb heat, does not have it on this plane. I haven't found it here, but it's really not too big of a deal. And give me one quick sec. Sorry about that. Just had to close my door. All right. Beacon light coming, or excuse me. Master switch is on. Beacon light was next, is on. Okay, we're not going to prime the engine. Throttle open 1/8 of an inch, just a little bit to make sure that it gets some good fuel flow into there. We don't need to yell clear prop. We can. There's no people modeled in this. All right, ignition start. It's key down here to the bottom left. Hold it until you see the propeller start spinning. You get a good start. Release it, and then pull back that throttle. Idle it. And your engine is started. First things we got to check. If you have no emergencies modeled, skip ahead, but basically pressure and temperatures are in the green. We're going to go ahead and turn our avionics on. Turn all this on. Radios we will set in a second. We're currently on Boston Center, so why don't we go ahead and get national tower frequency 133.2. There you go, 133.2. This is Nashua's field, or excuse me, Nashua's tower's radio frequency, and let's continue on with our checklist. Transponder, we'll go ahead and switch it on, put it on altitude mode. So on alt, there you go. Now you know it's on altitude mode. Wing flaps are completely up, and that is checked. And we're actually going to go ahead and scoot right into the before.
95 Nashua Tower, remain clear of the Manchester class Charlie airspace, runway 14 cleared for takeoff, the wind variable at 3.
North Manchester class Charlie, left down with approach, Aviator 95, clear for takeoff 14.
We're gonna skip the before takeoff checklist because we know nothing's going to be wrong with the aircraft. If you want to do that, it's really simple. You can Google it. I'll leave a link to the one I use in the description, but you can go ahead and go through that before takeoff checklist. But basically, everything is okay for us. We're just going to go ahead and adjust our lights, put our taxi light on and our strobe light on, and make sure that second avionics switch is on there. Okay, next thing we're going to do is lean out our mixture for taxi. Okay, now, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I like to do it because it helps the controllers, and I'm learning to become a controller, so anything that helps them is probably going to be a good thing, and I would like it if I were controlling. So, we're going to click on the flight plan button, and we are going to file our flight plan. We are just going to be doing, you can also do this in real life if you call a weather briefer, that will do that. But basically, we're just going to put in Nashua to Nashua. Cruising altitude will be 1,500 feet, it's pattern, or excuse me, 1,300 feet, it's pattern altitude. Cruising speed, we might get up to 100, and we're just going to put in pattern work. Remarks, if I can type, pattern work. Alright, we are VFR from Nashua to Nashua. Departure time and en route stuff doesn't really matter because we're doing pattern work. Cruising speed and altitude doesn't really matter because we're doing pattern work. Send and receive voice, pattern work, and file flight plan. Alright, so that's been filed. We don't actually need that. We can just call him up and ask him. But essentially now, what we are going to do is get the ATIS. We need the information for Nashua, so we are going to get the ATIS. Also, a good thing to do is make sure that you go onto SkyVector. They also have charts for the airport. So we are going to get the airport diagram to look at all the taxiways. And if you're doing departures or something like that, VFR, whatever you need from it, will be there in SkyVector. Essentially, Nashua has one runway, two, technically. 1.4 and 3.2. It's the same strip of tarmac, just from either end. It's a 6,000 foot runway that's 100 feet long, or 100 feet wide. Plenty of space for Nashua. Plenty of space for Nashua. So, or sorry, for a Cessna. Okay, so a couple things to remember. I like to write down what I'm going to say before I do it. So I like to write down my call sign, 6835 Hotel, Cessna 172. Where we are, we're at the GA ramp. And then, what information do we have? Well, if we go back into Xpilot, we can look right here. and we can see Nashua Tower ATIS information alpha is current, so we have alpha. And this is what you can do with this information. I'm going to drag it off because I need to go back and explain. But basically, it's going to give you your altimeter, which you can adjust right here in Cessna. 29er, 9er 1, so right about there. ILS runway 14 approach is in use, landing and departing runway 14. That's all we need to know, or that's all it's listed, but it's also all we need to know. There's also some airport weather listed there.
Aviator 95, frequency change approved. Good day.
10 statute miles of visibility is great. There's some variable clouds up there. Or sorry, not variable clouds. The wind is variable at 3. So if we're landing and departing runway 14, we can assume the winds are going to be trying to give us a headwind in that direction. And broken at 5,500. Not going to be a factor for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to write down that we are Cessna 35 Hotel, Cessna 172 at the GA ramp, information alpha, request departure to remain in the pattern. That's basically what we're going to say. So I'm going to key up the mic, we're going to talk to him, and here we go. Nashua Tower, Skyhawk 6835 Hotel, Cessna 172 at the GA ramp with information alpha, request departure to remain in the pattern.
November 6835 Hotel, Nashua Tower, good evening. Pattern work is approved. Advise ready for taxi.
35 Hotel. So basically all that was right there was us talking with Tower, letting him know that we want to do pattern work. Sometimes they will say no to pattern work because they have too many people online for them to handle with you doing laps in the pattern. Right now he's approved it. We're going to call him back. We're going to tell him we're ready for taxi, and we're going to get going. Nashua Tower, Sky 35 Hotel, ready for taxi.
November 6835 Hotel, Nashua Tower, runway 14, taxi via Alpha.
Runway 14, taxi via Alpha, Sky 35 Hotel. Alright, we've gotten our taxi instructions, so let's fold up the notebook. We've got our chart pulled up on the side here. I'm going to toss on the landing light and the nav light now. You don't actually need the nav light during the daytime, but it is a little dim, so I'm going to put it on for safety. It doesn't hurt, that's for sure. We're going to disable the parking brake. I have manual brakes. In real life, you would lean this mixture out for taxi. I am just going to make sure that we have fuel on board enough for this. Okay, we actually can take off a little bit of that. We don't need that much fuel. Make us lighter, perform better, whatnot, and we're good to go. I like to take this GPS. You can make it a window on its own and then drag it off to the side, and that just helps me with being able to do a quick look to the side and navigate if needed. We're doing pattern work, so it really shouldn't be that important, but basically we're going to come out here to Charlie and then turn left on Alpha, and that's basically going to be our taxi instructions. And just to confirm before we pass this this line right here, we are cleared to taxi, which means that we have permission to leave the non-movement area that we were just in, and then clear to the right, clear to the left, taxiing on Alpha. And it's really that simple. He did notice, you guys noticed that he did not give us a squawk code. I should probably set this to VFR really quickly. He did not give us a squawk code. You don't need one for Class Delta. The only thing you need for Class Delta airspace is two-way radio communication. That's it. So basically, you're just going to communicate your intentions. If you're flying through the airspace and you don't want to land, you just tell him that, and he'll make sure that you stay clear of it. But yeah, that's basically it. It's really simple. We're good to go do pattern work right now. Takeoff trim is set. We do flaps up takeoff. We don't need flaps for our takeoff. Like I said, Nashua was a 6,000 foot runway. That's plenty of space. It's really, really easy. So we'll do a couple of laps in the pattern, I think, and then I think we'll either on the go, maybe once we turn crosswind, we will call up Tower and just let him know we'd like a departure to the south. And like I said, it's that simple. He will just tell you to turn or whatever he wants you to do to get that to happen for you. And it's really that simple, guys. It's working Class Bravo is the hardest thing you can do. Class Delta is the second easiest thing you can do behind non-towered fields. But why would you want to do that when you can talk to a tower? For safety, for practice, you might
November 6835 Hotel, Nashua Tower, make a left close traffic, wind 2603, runway 14, cleared for takeoff, report midfield.
Clear for takeoff, we'll make left coast traffic, and we'll call the midfield 35 Hotel. Okay, one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is all lined up with our heading indicator. So it needs to go like this. And there we go. Alright, we're clear for takeoff. We're going to make left coast traffic, and we're going to call our midfield downwind. I'll explain all that in the air. But, takeoff, basically. Full power, mixture is rich. We can confirm the fuel selector valves on both because I haven't changed it. On the takeoff roll, there's only 3 things you really need to be worried about. Your airspeed, maintaining center line, and then your pressure temperatures. So, as we line up on center line here, full power, right rudder to counteract that tendency. Airspeed is a lie, pressure and temperatures are in the green. 55, rotate. And then basically we're just going to pitch for 78. And that is going to be our best climb over distance. And we're going to climb up to 1,000 feet before making our crosswind turn, which is our left turn, initial left turn here. There's passing 500. This Cessna climbs very quickly. In real life, it might not climb as quickly because you're going to have some payload weight. You're going to have the weight of yourself, possibly others. But in the sim, it climbs incredibly quickly. So we're just holding 78. We're holding runway center line as best I can. And here comes 1,000 feet. I'm going to throttle back a little bit. And then we're going to turn left, release some of that right rudder. Make sure that that turn ball basically just stays in those 2 lines as best as possible. And we're going to turn 90 degrees to the left. And continue climbing as well at the same time.
Digital aircraft on frequency, Nashua information Bravo is now current altimeter 29902.
We might have to extend our upwind leg a little bit now, and we're going to pull that power back as we level off and pitch for leveling. Because like I said, this plane handles like a beast in this sim. We were up at 1,000 feet before we had even reached the end of the runway. So, okay, we're going to throttle back a little bit more to try to maintain that 1,300 feet of altitude. And then we're roughly between half a mile and a mile to the airport. We can turn our downwind. This is in case your engine goes out. If it goes out, you need to be able to glide back. So only being a half mile to a mile away, you should be able to do that. And so we're basically just going to turn until we are parallel with the runway. And a way you can do that is you can look at your heading indicator, or if you're capable of it, you can look out the window. And I mean that genuinely, you know, if you have a head tracker or if you have the keybind set up, you can look out the window. And now he asked us to call the midfield downwind. So that's basically just when you're literally at midfield. You're halfway down the runway, but in the air. And that is essentially your midfield downwind. Skyark 35 Hotel is midfield downwind for runway 14, request touch and go.
Skyhawk 35 Hotel, Nashua Tower, runway 14, clear touch and go.
Clear touch and go, runway 14, 35 Hotel. We asked for a touch and go, we got a touch and go. We are now approaching the end of the runway. We just passed the number, so we're going to throttle back and begin our descent. Throttle is roughly 1700. You can slow it down if you have to. I'm actually going to pull the throttle back and pitch up and bleed my speed off until we're in the white arc. That's 85 knots on this airplane. And there we go. We're going to drop the first notch of flaps, which will also help us descend faster and fly slower. And then we're going to pitch for around about 70 knots. I'm not really sure what that message means. We're going to turn base in a little bit here, once 45 degrees in the numbers. And let me pull up my X-Pilot. I'm not transmitting, I don't know what he means. You're on my frequency. That might have been an accidental message. We got a little bit fast there. I'm going to pitch up. We've turned our base. A little bit complicated for what's going on right now. And we're getting a little bit low, so I'm going to add some power and pitch up a little bit, and I'm going to leave out the flaps. Okay, pull the power back a little bit, continue to pitch down a little bit. Alright, we got 6,000 feet of runway to work with. That's plenty of space. And we're going to turn the final. We're cleared for the touch and go. Basically, touch and go just means we're going to touch down, put the nose on the ground. And then if we had carby, alright, we're really low, so I'm going to increase power a little bit. Actually, I don't have to increase power. I can just pitch up, bleed off some of that airspeed, and get back to where I need to be. Okay, you want to target about 65 on the approach speed here, so we're going to increase that power now that we're back on the glide path. I'm actually going to leave the flaps the way they are. A little bit fast, pull some of that power back out, pitch up, pitch for your speed, power for your altitude. Remember that. We are cleared, touch and go. Runway 14. And walk that power out, and idle thrust, and pitch up. A little left rudder here to counteract the nose going to the right. Okay, now on the go, flaps up, pitch, try and set that for takeoff. I can't really look down, and full throttle. Airspeed's back up to 55. We're going to rotate again. I'm going to pitch up a little bit more. Pitch for 78. I'm actually going to pull power back a little bit. We're going to climb at a reduced power setting. But we're still going to pitch for that same 78. And essentially this is just going to prolong our climb, allow us to get further from the runway, so that we don't have to have what happened last time, where we were pretty much still on the runway, or over the runway. Now if you'd like to, now is your time to go through climb checklist if you're doing that. If you're just getting into things, I don't think you should. I think you should try to focus while you're in the simulator. If you're in real life, then you need to, but in the simulator, I feel like you should try and just focus on flying the aircraft and getting that right. Try and focus on the different parts of the power, or of the pattern, and remember, controllers are there to help you. So if you have any problems or you forget something, controllers are there to help you with it. Alright, so we are approaching 800 now. We're still pitching for 78. I don't even have my hands on the controls right now, by the way. You can trim out aircraft that easily to fly them, to where you don't really have to mess with the controls too much. You can just make minor inputs every here and there, and you can trim it out. And it's really that simple. So, yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Alright, 1000, we're going to turn our crosswind now. And I'm going to ask if he wants us to continue to call at midfields. Astro Tower Sky 35 Hotel, you want us to continue to call our midfields?
Different.
Because I know he said it, I just want to make sure that we continue to do that for him. Alright, there's the runway. Now we're in much better pattern position. There we go. Still going to pitch for 80 here, a little bit fast. 78 to 80. And then I'm actually going to reduce that power even more as we level off. Maybe not quite. Alright, there we go. Okay, going to turn downwind.
Tower Skyhawk, 2 Delta Echo, radio check.
2 Delta Echo 5x5.
Okay, getting a little bit fast and we're pitching up a little bit too much. You want to, there's a little display right underneath the altimeter where you can keep your
Tower S, Skyhawk, November 172 Delta Echo is a Skyhawk 172. I'm at the FBO right now. Actually, I'm just looking to, we're going to be flying out as part of a group here, and just looking to get VFR clearance and flight following to, I guess, Kilo, KCON, I guess, 2 Delta Echo.
That would be the Concord viewer, but the Concord Airport, November 172 Delta Echo, National Tower, good evening. I believe you're requesting wings VFR 5 as well, correct?
That's correct, 2 Delta Echo.
November 172 Delta Echo, maintain VFR at below 2,500, departure frequency 124.90, squawk 1307, and wings VFR 5 is approved.
Alright, that's VFR at or below 2,500 with a frequency 124.90, squawk 1307. That should be it. 2 Delta Echo.
Cessna 2 Delta Echo, your readback is correct. Advise this frequency ready for taxi. Expect runway 14.
Expect runway 14, and I'll let you know we're ready to taxi 2 Delta Echo.
Skyhawk 35 Hotels will beam the numbers for 14, touch and go.
Cessna 35 Hotel, Nashua Tower, runway 14, cleared touch and go, wind 2603.
Clear for touch and go, runway 14, 35 Hotel. Alright, another thing about there, so we're going to walk the power back. I should probably focus on the landing, and we're going to nose up, get that speed into the white arc. We are going to drop flaps this time because we're much, much higher relative to our lateral position. So we're going to drop one notch of flaps, and then nose over, maintain that like 75-ish on the airspeed there. And basically, we're just going to hold this. What I was going to say is about the radios there. You only want to read back what's crucial. Everything else is just supplemental to you, like the wind speeds and direction, for example. That's stuff for you to make a mental note of, but not to clog the frequency with. Okay. Now would be a good time to turn base. So we are going to continue to try and pitch for that 75 to 80 on the speed, roughly. And just hold that power setting. I think we're doing okay on the descent right now. Maybe a little bit fast on the descent, but if I rock this wing up, you'll see that we're actually a little bit low. So I'm gonna walk that power back in. And these are gonna happen. I haven't had a perfect pattern yet. Not just on the sim in general. It's very, you're gonna see more experienced pilots pulling it off. We're gonna go flaps 2. Say flaps 2, flaps 20 degrees. And the speed comes out a lot when you go to that second flap setting at 20 degrees. And we're going to turn our final. We're cleared for the touch and go. I'm going to bump in that power actually a lot right now because we are slow and we are low. Those 4 lights just to the right of the runway, if they're all red, you're really low. If they're all white, you're really high. Ideally 2 white, 2 red means you're perfect. So the wind he said was 260, so it's actually a little bit of a tailwind. I'm surprised that we're landing on this runway. I would figure we'd be doing the other runway. The other runway would be much more suited. I think it's 320, yeah, runway 32 would be much more suited for this kind of an operation. So there's 1 white light. There's 2 white lights. We'll walk that power out a little bit and pitch down and hold our 60. So in order to counteract this crosswind, I'm going to add a little bit of left rudder and right aileron where applicable. Holding that speed and that glide path, perfect right there. And we're a little bit high, gonna pull that power back out. Pitch down, maintain that 60 knots. Really, once you get good at working your airspeed and your altitude via pitch and power and when to use which, you can get really good at these and really good at correcting mistakes. Alright, we're gonna walk that power back out and flare up a little bit. Keep that nose off the ground. Okay, that was not the best landing. Flaps up full. Trim up. Full power. Nashua Tower, Skyhawk 35 Hotel is on the go. Request departure to the south.
November 6835 Hotel, you requesting flight following or just VFR up?
Negative, just VFR to the south.
And November 6835 Hotel, that's approved to fly runway heading.
Fly runway heading 35 Hotel. So basically I just asked him for a VFR departure to the south here. We're gonna leave his airspace essentially, but he's asked us to remain on runway heading, so we're doing that. And we are gonna pitch. We are really, really fast right here, and we need to convert all that. I forgot, I'm gonna walk that power back a little bit. We're pitching for 78, not for 100 on the climb. And there we go, perfect. As you can see, when I sped up a lot like that, I climbed all the way up to 1,000 right off the bat, pretty much. All right, let's take a look, see how I'm holding runway heading. Pretty well, maybe a little bit to the left here. So I'll do that. And we're gonna continue climbing.
November 6835 Hotel, you can proceed on course now.
Proceed on course, 35 Hotel. So we're going to turn right to head south here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull up this GPS right here. We're going to turn the knob all the way to the right for our nearest airports. we are going to push for a cursor and go find 6 Bravo 6. There it is. Click the direct button, click enter. It's really good to get familiar with that to work it quickly and effectively, that GPS. And we are going to climb up to, we're proceeding currently on a heading 210. So we are heading in the southwest direction. So any of you know that VFR altitude's southwest, even, plus 500. So we are going to climb up to 2,500 feet. We're going to go full power for this. And I'm also going to put in 122.8. Because that is frequency for 6 Bravo 6 Minuteman Airfield. That is the Unicom frequency, so to speak. It's an untowered field. Okay, passing 2,000 feet, still climbing out at roughly 78 knots, and we are on course here. Now, if you look at this, you see these rings right here. These are his airspace, followed by the airspace surrounding this airport. But essentially, once we're out of this, we're out of his airspace, we're out of his control. And we are into different airspace. I believe it's either Golf or Echo, but basically we don't have to talk to anyone for that. Gonna walk that power out a little bit, still pitched for that 78. And there we go at 2,500. Throttle back, still in the green arc on that engine RPMs. And just kind of pitch for 0 vertical speed. Now Minuteman has, 6 Bravo 6, which is also known as Minuteman, has...
November 6835 Hotel, you're leaving my airspace, frequency change approved.
Frequency change approved, 35 Hotel today. Okay, now we're just going to go there, switch the frequency. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start making radio calls for Minuteman while we multitask with maintaining our airspeed and whatnot. And, or excuse me, our directional travel, our altitude, and all that stuff. Minuteman traffic, Skyhawk 6835 Hotel is 14.5 miles to the north, inbound, straight in runway 21 Minuteman. Now, essentially, all that just did is tell anyone listening who cares about Minuteman that I am 14.5 miles to the north, and that I probably should have included my altitude with that, although it's not crucial because I'm 14.5 miles away. I'm not interfering with any of their traffic quite yet. But it's good for anyone who's in the pattern there, maybe, or also inbound. They know my position now. They know I'm 14.5 miles to the north. They know I'm inbound for a straight in runway 21 approach and landing. And that's all they really need. As we get closer, I'll call my altitude so that people who are looking for me can find me. But yeah, so basically that's the basics of working a Class Delta airspace. I'm sure I wasn't perfect, so if you know more, please do correct me in the comments down below. But it's really, really simple. And it's really the easiest. You really ask, the ask and you shall receive, that kind of phrase really does apply to Class Delta airspace. Obviously the controllers have final say, but really all you have to do is ask. You don't have to file flight plans, you don't have to obtain serious clearances. You don't need a clearance to fly in the Class Delta airspace. That's one thing. If you're flying through it, all you need is two-way radio communication, and that's it. That'll do it for you. So it's really straightforward in that regard. And so yeah. So basically for the remainder of this flight, this is the boring bit. We are just going to maintain our altitude with a little bit of a combination of our power and our pitch. Power is really the only thing that controls it, but if you want to mix and match the power and pitch to your liking, it's better to have your nose lower so that you can see more traffic outside. But it's really preference in that regard. We're just going to follow this pink line here all the way to the airport. We're approaching 10 miles out, where we'll make another radio call. We'll do 10 miles, 5 miles, and then 2 miles. We're going to bump the range out right now. Take a look. So that's Minuteman. That's its runway. And the lights actually might be on it. That's Minuteman Airport right there. That is the runway. If you can see that little strip right there with the lights, that's where we're landing. It's really that straightforward. So yeah, like I said, the remainder of this flight is just practicing a straight and level flight, which is also a good thing to practice, because not all the time you're gonna have, it's not all the time you're gonna have autopilot. Especially if you're using simulators to train for the real world, definitely hand fly it as much as possible. You might not get the same physical feedback as you would flying the plane, but it's better at training yourself to be a multitasker and to hold altitude, to adjust your engine, whatever you need to do, whatever you're multitasking for, looking for traffic, you're going to have to multitask. And essentially that's what this is for. That's what flying a Cessna in a simulator is for. It's to help you with that. So let's go and make another radio call. Minuteman traffic, Skyhawk 6835 Hotel is 9 miles to the north-northwest at 2,500 feet inbound for a straight-in approach runway 21 full stop. Minuteman. That basically just tells anyone we're going in, we're going to full stop, and now our altitude, so anyone looking for us can now see us a little better. Like I said, if you're practicing for the real world, straight and level flight is something you're going to have to do the most of. So getting good at it is probably a good idea, because once you've trimmed out the aircraft, you actually don't have to work as hard. So it's working harder in the beginning to work easier in the long run, and it's incredibly valuable to practice that. Now, if you really want to practice, you shouldn't use a GPS like I am. You should actually fully plan out a VFR flight plan. Not necessarily to file one, but so that you know, I'm searching for visual waypoints. Let's say, you know, whatever this body of water is right here, I'm searching for that. I'm going to fly over that and then turn on a certain course to go line up for Minuteman. You should be planning it like that. But yeah, that's really all I can suggest for tips right now. You should also be looking to do your cruise checklist and your approach checklists if you have them. Your before landing, I guess it would be in this point. So let's go ahead, and we've already done the cruise. I don't lean the mixture out. I leave it in. You should do that in real life. Saves you fuel, but. The elevator trim is obviously set, and the power is within the 2,000 to 2,700 range. Before landing checklist, seats and seatbelts don't have to worry about. Mixture is rich. Radios are set, and we have the runway in sight. Landing light is on. I never shut it off. And carpet. I haven't found the control of the carpet in this plane. If it's fuel injected, it ought to have carpet, but I just have not, for the life of me, been able to find the carpet. It's usually right. It's usually right here in the plane that I'm used to. Obviously it's not in this, but alright. Let's go ahead and make a radio call. Minuteman traffic, Skyhawk 6835 Hotel is 5 miles to the north-northwest inbound for a straight-in approach runway 21 full stop, Minuteman. And we're going to go ahead and start our descent. We're still 5 miles away, we have a lot of time, but we're going to do it now so that we can best set ourselves up for the approach. So we're going to walk that throttle back to around about 1700 if we can get it. Yeah, there we go. We're just going to pitch to try and maintain some speed. And you'll see our vertical sync rate stable is around about 750 feet per minute, excuse me. That's what you're looking for with your sync rate here. And obviously you don't want to be aiming for the runway, because the runway is not in line with us. We need to cross the runway before we can kind of align ourselves with it, so to speak. Again, just try and keep that. If you're ever doing a turn, a good thing to practice is this ball right here. You want to keep that centered, and that will tell you that you're doing a coordinated turn, meaning you're producing the least amount of risk for something bad to happen, such as a spin or anything like that. Some fun things to do, I might even do right now, is a steep turn. We're basically going to power up here. We're going to level off. We're going to put that nose all the way to 30 degrees, and then pitch up, and then all the way to 45 degrees. And essentially what this is doing, this is a steep turn. We are maintaining our speed, maintaining our altitude, but our turn rate is incredibly quick, as you'll notice. Okay, We lost a lot of altitude there, so we're just going to continue. And then we're going to roll it out. And look at that, now we're lined up for the runway. But that's a fun maneuver you can do. In the real world, you'll feel about 1.4 Gs or so on yourself. Let's walk that power back out to 1700. Minimum traffic, Skyhawk 6835 Hotel is 2 miles to the north, on final for runway 21, full stop. Okay, I'm going to go throttle idle here. We are high and we are fast, two of the worst things you can be. So we're going to pitch up as we're idle throttle to drop speed. And then we're going to dump flaps, 1 notch, 2 notches, and then we really do need to nose over to maintain that speed. And this will allow us to descend much faster than your normal stable descent rate while still maintaining our airspeed. Minimum traffic, Skyhawk 35 Hotels, 1 mile final for 21, full stop. Alright, I haven't heard any other aircraft nor have I seen anything else while I've been flying. Until those lights switch to 2 white, 2 red, you don't need to add power to maintain your airspeed, you should just be nosing down. And now that they're red, a little overly red, we're going to actually bump in a little extra power. Remember, flaps at 20 degrees, the aircraft becomes harder to maintain airborne, but you can fly slower. Okay, speed's a little bit fast. I need to pitch down a lot right now because the aircraft is not behaving. Okay, we're going to reduce that power. We're going to actually idle it as we approach the runway here. Much smaller runway here at Minuteman. Alright, there we go. Pretty smooth landing. And we can go easy on the brakes a little bit. This runway it's not long, but it's plenty long for us to go easy with the brakes. Try and maintain that center line. And then brake to vacate here. I shouldn't say brake to vacate. This plane is not equipped with brake to vacate like some Airbuses are. This is manual braking all the way. There's one last radio call we need to make here. Roughly to the right, I checked that as we went past. There's another runway here that we're going to have to hold short of, but Minuteman, Skyhawk 35 Hotels, clear of runway 21, taxi to tie downs, Minuteman. This right here, this is a gravel runway. You can land on this. Although it's closed, in real life you can land on that. So, you need to stop, but we're clear to cross it because there's no one here. So we're going to throttle up. And we'll actually, Minuteman, Skyhawk 35 Hotel, change plans. We're going to taxi to the fuel pumps, Minuteman. So the fuel pumps are right up here. Sorry about that. Right there. Obviously, there's a little fuel thing there. That's where the fuel pumps are. That's where we're going to taxi. We wouldn't need to refuel this, but let's pretend we're the last night, or we're the last flight for the day with this aircraft. Then we want to refuel it. You don't want to be that guy. So. I like to use this external view to help me park it. You wouldn't in the real world, so if you want to practice that, then do that, but I like to just do that. Okay, engine shutdown and aircraft shutdown. After landing, transponder will stay on the altitude setting. Wing flaps are completely up. That is checked and set. Car beats cold. Lights. Turn the nav light off, turn the strobe light off. We can turn them all off except for the beacon. The beacon has to stay on. Trim. Reset for the next person. Set for takeoff. Make sure we're going to end up pulling it all the way out in a second. So brakes. Brakes are set. Transponder. Switch that to off. Transponder's off. Avionics switch. Down. Off. Ignition grounding. Okay, so this is a neat little trick. You should know that this is something that's a safety precaution. You need to ground the ignition here. And all this is basically put it on the right magneto and then very quickly switch it to off and then back to right. If the engine stays fully running and you don't see that, like the engine attempt to stop like it did, what that means is that the aircraft is not grounded. I'm not sure exactly what kind of a problem that could cause, but I believe it just means the magnetos are hot and you need to cool them off, so to speak. But yeah, since that happened, it did try to shut itself off, and we quickly switched it. We can go mixture idle. That cuts the fuel to the engine. Turn the keys to off and pull them out once the propeller stops spinning. Master switch. Completely off. Beacon light. This is why we leave the beacon, because the beacon, if you leave the master switch on, the beacon will still be going. So if you get out of the aircraft and walk away, you turn around and do your final check and you see that beacon light up there spinning, then you know you left the master switch on. Beacon light off, the master switch is off. And we don't have a control lock, but if you did, it would probably go somewhere right in that range. And actually, maybe if I pull back, you'll see it. Nah, unfortunate. All right. That's securing the airplane. Airplane's secured. You would have to get out and put shocks in, but that's basically it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I know that was a lot of information, and I do appreciate you guys bearing with me through that. And yeah, so that was VFR flight, Class Delta Airspace. Next time, we'll see if we can get a Class Charlie controller online and see if we can do some work with them. There's a little bit more to it, not a lot, but a little bit more. You get approach controllers and whatnot, so it's some good stuff. Probably no pattern work, but we'll see if we can do a flight. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to getting back into the sim with you guys later on and making some new videos. Leave a like, subscribe, you know all the good stuff. And thanks. Peace.